A blue wave in November means open borders, which means massive crime. A red wave means safety and strength. That's what it's all over our communities. They will be preying on our communities. Yet while many Democrats are calling to abolish ICE, today our brave ICE officers successfully carried out a 14-year-old deportation order against a Nazi criminal who was living in New York, the last known Nazi officer living in the United States. They've been trying to get him out for decades. President Obama tried. They all tried. We got him out. Gone. He's gone. He's back in Germany. ICE officers are heroes who uphold our laws, and they really do. They uphold our laws, and they defend our communities like nobody you've ever seen. And yes, they're tough, they're strong, they're smart, they have great heart, but they go into these communities loaded up with the kind of criminals you don't want to be dealing with. They walk in like it's another day in the office. They're tougher. They're stronger. It's what these other people fear. And by the way, our ICE folks and our Border Patrol folks, they have no fear. The job they do is incredible. And by the way, while we're at it, law enforcement, these are great, great people, and they're doing an incredible job. Every single day, ICE is tracking down gang members, drug dealers, predators and killers, and we're either throwing them in jail or throwing them the hell out of our country. If you want to save ICE, if you want to protect our border and our Border Patrol, if you want to stop this craziness of sanctuary cities where criminals are protected. Take a look at Chicago. How about the mayor of Chicago? It's like a war zone. And it's a great city. That's like a war zone. This is what those policies do. Last week, 62 people were shot, 12 died. This is like our country. There's no reason for this. The Republican Party stands proudly with our courageous ICE officers and Border Patrol agents. And by the way, you know who wants the wall more than any of us? ICE and Border Patrol, because they know that's going to be a big, big factor in stopping the drugs from coming in. The human traffickers, which is worse all over the world than at any time in the history of our world. Human traffickers. Who would believe? And it's because of the internet. This election is about security, and this election is also about jobs. We have produced. We have produced. Thanks to Republicans, our economy is booming like it has never boomed before. We've created another number that nobody would have believed if I said it during the campaign. 4 million new jobs since the election. Nobody would have believed it. Almost 3.9 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps. Think of that. They don't need them because they have a job. They're eating better now. They don't need food stamps. Almost 4 million, think of it. Last year in West Virginia, per capita income grew 40% faster than the national average. 40%. Congratulations. Congratulations. I told you last time I was here, you weren't so happy like you are now. We've added over 400. There's no such thing as manufacturing jobs anymore, right? And I'd say, oh, I see, we're not going to make things anymore. Think of it. We'll be close to 600,000 very soon. We have companies pouring in to our country. They're coming back. These are companies that left. They're coming back to Michigan. They're coming back to West Virginia. They're coming back to Pennsylvania and Ohio. They're coming to Florida. They're coming back, not just opening, they're coming back. They left, and now they're coming back because they want to be where the action is, and the action is in the United States of America. So the economic growth, as I said, when it hit 4.1%, everybody was like, that's amazing, except me, because it's going to go much higher than that. When I finish these trade deals, and the tariffs are very important, these companies come in, and I say to the European Union, very nice people, I say, Jean-Claude, we'd like to negotiate a new trade agreement with the European Union. We lost $151 billion over the last number of years per year. Does anyone know what $151 billion per year is? And he very respectfully said, Mr. President, but we are very happy with the deal. I said, I'd be happy if I were you too. I'd be very happy. I said a second time, a third time, and a fourth time. But they were happy with the deal. But we weren't happy because they have barriers up and because they have tariffs, all the things we don't have. You want to build a... So they have barriers. So I said, come on, let's go. And then he said, no. I said, listen. And I said this to numerous countries. I mean, in all fairness, I don't want to single out anybody, but I said it to numerous. I says, listen, here's what we're going to do. It's all about the cars. It's all about the cars. Tremendously big industry. We're going to put a 25% tax on every car that comes from the European Union into the United States. And that'll take our loss and trade deficit of $151 billion, and it'll give us a surplus of $151 billion. That's a fairly dramatic swing. And that'll take one little signature, Donald J. Trump. And I got a call. Mr. President, when can we meet? Would like to see.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, the president, as you've seen, giving an animated speech in Charleston, West Virginia. We're going to go back to that until it ends.
Great respect, tremendous respect for China. But they have taken advantage of our country for decades. We have rebuilt China. We have rebuilt China. I used to talk about this. I didn't press it initially because I wanted them to help us with North Korea, and they have. And they have. And we're doing well with North Korea. You know, these guys, it's been, what, 3 months since I left? These guys say, what's happening with North Korea? Hey, folks, they've been doing this stuff for 75 years, 3 months. What happened? I can tell you. And I got along very well with Kim Jong-un and got the hostages back. And we didn't pay one. But who knows what's going to happen? I mean, maybe it'll work out, but I think we've done a good job, you know, in a short period of time. You remember it started off extremely hostile. Remember they said, he's going to get us into a war. They thought my rhetoric was too strong. You remember. I won't say it because I don't want to insult Chairman Kim. But you remember. Boom. You remember. Elton John. I don't want to insult, so I'm not going to mention it. But the fake news back there said, he is going to get us into a war. He's crazy. This guy is crazy. Our president is crazy. And then I went to meet the leaders and the folks that run NATO, all the leaders of NATO. And they weren't paying their bills. They were delinquent. You know, in real estate, I love real estate. When somebody doesn't pay their rent, you say, Shelley, you say, they're delinquent. You got to pay your rent. And I met them last year. And Stoltenberg, Secretary General, great guy of NATO, is my single biggest fan, bigger than any fan I have in the room. You know why? Because nobody was paying their bills. He was in charge of NATO. He couldn't get any money. But last year, I went a year ago. I said, you're not paying your bills. You got to pay your bills. He picked up $44 billion. He told that to the press. They didn't report. $44 billion. And then I just left recently. The United States is paying close to 90% of the cost of protecting Europe. And I think that's wonderful. You don't pay your bills, and you could see those checkbooks coming out for billions of dollars. They pay their bills. And I think we'll pick up, over the next short while, over $100 billion. And then they said, the fake news, they said, President Trump treated the NATO nation leaders, in brackets, I put brackets, who have been ripping us off, in brackets, treated the NATO leaders with tremendous contempt and disrespect. And I said, no, no, no. They disrespected our country because they weren't paying. Now they're paying. How about if we got into a conflict because a country was attacked, and now we're in World War III, and we're protecting a country that was attacked and didn't pay its bills? I'd feel so stupid. We're protecting a country that wasn't paying its bills. So I got them to pay $100 billion. It's going to be much more than that, but tremendous amounts of money. Tremendous. They got to pay up. They're paying up. And then they made the statement that I showed great disrespect. But actually, I have a great relationship with all of those people, 28 people, all of them. We have a great relationship because now they respect us. They respect our country again. They didn't respect our country. They didn't respect our country. They respect us again. And you see it with... But we had to do things that we had to do. When I came, we were heading in a certain direction that was going to allow China to be bigger than us in a very short period of time. That's not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen anymore. Can't let that happen. The long winding road, you know, the long winding road. And I have tremendous respect for China. I mean, the energy, the genius, it's incredible what they've done. And hopefully we're going to have a great relationship. But we can't do it. It's got to be a two-way street. We have only one-way streets. Not only China, with everybody. It's a one-way street. Our enemies, our friends, our allies. I mean, our allies treat us worse than our enemies. Believe it. So it's all changing. And when we get those trade deals done properly, and you know what bothers me? I have people coming to me, some people in Congress, sir, can you get this deal done immediately? I said, it doesn't work that way. I don't want to go too fast. The deal's not going to be any good if we do that. We got to take time. It's got to gestate, right? The word gestate. It's like when you're cooking a chicken. Time. Turkey for Thanksgiving. My mother would say, oh, 8 hours. I said, 8 hours? She made the greatest turkey I've ever had. Takes time. Takes time. So when they run and they say, oh, can you do NATO right now? Could we sign it next week? I said, wait a minute. Look, I like Mexico. I like the new leader. I think he's going to be terrific. A little different than us. I think I'm doing better with him than with the capitalist. Percent tariffs for dairy products going into Canada, which is essentially saying, we don't want your dairy products. This is a wall. They have a wall in a different way. It's called an economic wall. I don't want that. I said, Justin, I mean, I don't want to have too much fun with you, Justin. You can't do that. Justin Trudeau, nice guy. But they've taken advantage of us for so many years that we have to take our time. But with that being said, we're doing very well. We're on our way with a good deal, a fair deal. I don't want a good deal. I want a fair deal for both of us. Fair with Mexico. And you've heard me say it. As an example, when China makes a car, they sell it into the United States. There's 2.5% tariff, of which they don't pay. So they pay nothing. Other than that, it's a wonderful deal. When we make a car, we sell it into China, and there's a 25% tariff, and that's just the beginning. There's others. A man was driving down a street in China, and he looked over, and it was a Chevrolet-like Camaro. Does that make sense? Is it a Camaro? I think it cost $39,000 or $40,000. He's in China. He's in Beijing. And he shouts across. They're stopped. He shouts across, tell me, how much did that car cost in China? Guy looks, $119,000. Now, you understand that, right? It's all taxes and taxes and taxes. We can't do that anymore. Can't do it. Ripped off anymore. And if it takes me the little angst to tell senators and congressmen and all of the people that really done. With that being said, we're moving so fast, nobody can even believe it. And every country wants to make a deal. Because we're like the big, fat piggy bank that everybody wants to rob. And we're not going to let them rob us anymore. Is that okay, West Virginia? We're not going to let them rob us anymore. Every day we're keeping our promises. We're canceling Obama's illegal anti-coal destroying regulation. I want clean air. I want crystal clean water. And we've got it. We've got the cleanest country in the planet right now. There's nobody cleaner than us. And it's getting better and better. But I'm getting rid of some of these ridiculous rules and regulations which are killing our companies, our states, and our jobs. Just today, we announced our new affordable clean energy proposal that will help our coal-fired power plants and save consumers, you, me, everybody, billions and billions of dollars. We've eliminated a record number of job-killing regulations, and Republicans have passed the biggest tax cuts and reform. The reform's very important, but you know what I've said. I don't want to talk about reform because nobody knows what it means. That could be a tax increase. I said, how come it's been Ronald Reagan since you got the last big tax cut? And they looked at me and said, we don't know. And a lot of the great senators and the congressmen came up to see me, and they had the 2018 tax reform. I said, what the hell does that mean? Are you going to raise taxes? Then I found out this is what they've done for 40 years. Tax reform. I said, nobody knows what it means. And we do have reform in there, great reform. But they said, nobody knows. I said, nobody knows what it means. Here it is. I want to put it down, tax cuts. They said, what would be your favorite name, Mr. President? I said, the tax cut bill. And we almost did it. We almost did it. But in all fairness, in this case, Congressman, a couple of them thought it was a little bit tacky. So we call it the Tax Cut and Jobs Bill. But you know what? We have done great reform. But it's the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And you people are benefiting by it. You're benefiting by it. And companies are benefiting, and those companies are the ones that are providing all of the jobs. We're setting records on jobs. We're protecting also, so important for West Virginia and a lot of states, we are protecting, again, religious liberty. And we're also standing up to social media censorship. That's the new thing. That's the new thing. You know, I'd rather have fake news like CNN. I would rather have fake news, it's true, than have anybody, including liberals, socialists, anything, than have anybody stopped and censored. You got to live. We got to live with it. We got to get used to it. We're going to live with fake news. There's too many sources. Every one of us is sort of like a newspaper. You have Twitter. You have whatever you have, Facebook. But everyone, you can't have censorship. You can't pick one person and say, well, we don't like what he's been saying, he's out. So we'll live with fake news. I mean, I hate to say it. But we have no choice because that's by far the better alternative. You can't have people saying censorship because you know what? It can turn around. It can be them next. It can be them next. We believe in the right of Americans to speak their minds. We repealed the core of Obamacare, I told you, individual mandate, because we want to give critically ill patients, we have to give them access. We have to give health care to people. We want the right to try. Do you know what the right to try is? They've been trying to get this for 40 years. They couldn't get it. A person is terminally ill. They're terminally ill. They're really sick. And I know people, if they have money, they travel all over the world to try and find a cure. If they don't have money, they die. They die. We have the greatest scientists in the world. That's why China and so many other people, they're trying to steal our technology. We can't let them happen. But we have so many people that want to be able to give, it's like hope, right to try. I love the name. It's a right to try. They never had it before. So a person's terminally ill, and we have a great new drug, but it's going to take another 2-3 years to have it approved. Okay? Maybe longer. But the tests are really looking good. And this person is very sick. And this person is going to be dead in 90 days. And we couldn't get that drug for that person, no matter who you were. And I said, wait a minute, what's the story with this? Now, there were a lot of complications because the insurance companies had problems, the medical companies had, everybody. A lot of people didn't want them in the stats, horrible things. But I said, well, what's going on? We're going to take the right to try, and we went through, with the help of Corey, with the help of your great, wonderful, you are a coal lover, aren't you, huh, Shelley? But with the help of Shelley, soon to be with the help of Patrick. Patrick's, oh, he's going to get a lot of things. He's going to get it. We got it approved. So now, if we have a great drug that hasn't been approved and somebody has a certain illness, they're going to be able to try. And you know what? Some of the drugs we have in the pipeline are amazing. It's going to work for a lot of people, and it's going to give them hope. It's going to give them hope. Big thing. We've just secured $6 billion to fight the opioid epidemic, and I know in West Virginia that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. We confirmed a record number of circuit court judges. It's a record, and it's going bigger and bigger. We have a lot of them in the line if Schumer would ever get them approved. He's not exactly thrilled about approving them, that I can tell you. We confirmed the great Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court of the United States. And as I just said, Justice Kavanaugh is doing great. Looks like, I don't know, very tough. Central casting. How do you vote against him? But the Democrats may find a way. We've secured a record $700 billion for our military this year and $716 billion for next year. Billion with a B. Our military will be stronger and bigger and better and more sophisticated than it's ever been. Ever. Think about a fighter or a nation or whatever you want. The stronger your military, the better chance you have of never having to use it. That's very exciting. We need it. That's the new frontier. And I'm not just talking about sending rockets to the moon. I'm talking about militarily. That's where it's at. Thanks to the leadership of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, we've reduced the United Nations spending by $1.3 billion, saving U.S. taxpayers $350 million. Just came out, but nobody wants to write it. We just passed a landmark VA accountability law. That's where people that don't treat our vets properly, we look at them and we say, you're fired, get the hell out. 45 years they've been trying to pass it. 45 years they've tried to pass it. We also passed Veterans' Choice so that if our veterans can't get the care they need, they have the right to see a private doctor. They don't have to wait in line for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months. I withdrew the United States from the horrible Iran nuclear deal. And this month we reimposed tough sanctions on Iran's nuclear program and on Iran. I also recognized the capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. And I understand now what happened. Because every president, many presidents, they said, we're going to do it. We're going to move our embassy to Jerusalem. It's going to be the capital of Israel. And we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And then they don't do it. Politicians, they don't do it. So I said, I'm going to do it during the campaign. I said it right here in West Virginia. And I now understand why many presidents before me said they were going to do it and didn't do it. Because I was inundated with calls from foreign leaders. Every country, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, please don't do it, don't do it. And so actually what I did, I was about 5 days off. I stopped taking calls. I said, I'll call you back next week. Because I knew what they were going to ask me. It's much easier to say, oh, gee, I didn't know you were calling for that reason. So I approved it. And it should have been done years ago. And if there's ever going to be peace, remember I said it, with the Palestinians, it was a good thing to have done because we took it off the table. Because every time there were peace talks, they never got past Jerusalem becoming the capital. So I said, let's take it off the table. And you know what? In the negotiation, Israel will have to pay a higher price because they won a very big thing. But I took it off the table. They could never get by. You understand that, Corey? You both understand that, Shelley? They could never get past the fact of Jerusalem becoming the capital. Now it's off the table. There's nothing to negotiate. But they'll get something very good because it's their term next. Let's see what happens. It's very interesting. I've always heard that's the toughest deal of all deals. That's called peace between Israel and the Palestinians. They say that's the toughest of all deals. Let's see what happens. Instead of apologize, that's what we're doing is we're winning. Instead of apologizing for America, we're standing up for America, and we're standing up for the heroes who defend our country. But to continue this incredible success, we must elect more Republicans. We must elect Patrick Morrissey. We need him. We need Patrick. So get your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, your family members. Get the people that love our country and get out to vote. We need his vote so badly. We need his energy. You're going to see, this guy has energy. Loyal citizens like you helped to build this country. Money. They didn't have a lot of luxury, but they had grit and they had faith and they loved each other. And I'll tell you what, they were smart. They are smart. We're the smart ones. Remember, I say it all the time. You hear the elite. They're not elite. We're elite. You're smarter than they are. You have more money than they are. You have better jobs than they do. You're the elite. So let them have the word elite. You're the super elite. That's what it is. I always hate when they say, well, the elite decided not to go to something I'm doing, right? The elite. I say, well, I have a lot more money than they do. I have a much better education than they have. I'm smarter than they are. I have many much more beautiful homes than they do. I have a better apartment at the top of Fifth Avenue. Why the hell are they the elite? Tell me. Because you're the elite. Just remember that. You're the elite. They're not the elite. That's just a name. Aren't you insulted when they say the elite? To me, I'm insulted. Always insulted. They're the elite. They're not the elite. Your people and the people that preceded you in West Virginia were the carpenters and the coal miners, the ministers, the metal workers, the farmers, the factory workers. But they all had one thing in common. They loved their families, they loved their country, and they loved their God. We stand on the shoulders of generations of American patriots who knew how to fight, and they knew how to win. We're winning again. We're winning again. Just like them, we're going to keep on fighting, and we're going to keep on winning, and we're going to win for our nation, our children, our families, and we're going to win for our continued freedom. I joke that I'll have Patrick Morrissey coming to me soon. He'll be your senator. And he'll say, with Cole, you're winning with everything. He's going to say, Patrick, he's going to say, Mr. President, please stop winning. And I'm going to say, Patrick, I'm sorry. I don't care what the hell the people of West Virginia want. We're going to keep on winning anyway because I believe that's what they want, right? That's what they want. Because the people of West Virginia never give up, they never give in, and they never back down. Because we are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America wealthy again. That's happening. That's happening a lot faster than the fake news ever said it could happen. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, West Virginia. Thank you.
You can't always get what you want. The signature ending to a Trump rally. The president wrapping up a speech in West Virginia on this very busy news day. Tammy Bruce has been watching the speech in West Virginia and the events of today, and she joins us tonight with a recap. Tammy, tell me what you thought of the president's remarks in light of everything that's happened today in the news.
Well, he was on his game, frankly, more than I've even seen him. He clearly loves what he's doing still. He had a message he wanted to impart, and he did so. And I never really realized his outgoing theme song was really a message to the elite, but apparently it is at this point. They're not getting what they want. This is an unflappable man. And look, it was a lot of news today, but it was also news that wasn't necessarily surprising, right? That it's kind of been baked into what we've been watching for the last year, year and a half. And so it's not surprising. And the president, of course, signaled his approach when he was going to this rally, reiterating his feeling about the Mueller investigation, that nothing of what happened today was about this special counsel and the so-called Russian collusion. But, of course, his theme today at this rally was reminding people of what he's accomplished for them. But even more than that, being in a state with people that the Democrats took for granted, that Democratic administrations effectively abandoned, that Hillary and Obama wanted to change and destroy by getting rid of coal. And he reminded them that he's with them, that he was a part of them, and they're with him. So this is what you're going to see leading up to the midterms. An optimistic man remaining confident. He clearly he mentioned the Molly Tibbetts murder, but obviously it's so early at this point, not going into the details there, but making it very clear with what you're also going to hear leading up to the midterms is that a red wave means safety and strength, and that a blue wave would mean open borders and crime. So that is the method. That's the message you're going to be hearing from the president leading into the midterms, and it's going to be one that I think resonates.
I think he wins on those themes, and I don't think the underlying dynamics have changed. I was, however, a little bit surprised to learn that Michael Cohen was taking a commission for selling a Birkin bag, which I'd never heard of until today. Apparently, it's an extremely expensive handbag. He made $30,000, apparently brokering this deal, and he now admits didn't pay taxes on it.
Well, you know, it's,
so,
I'll tell you.
I found it kind of amusing. I don't know why.
Those, even the elitist products, you've got a Birkin bag, it just might come back and bite you. You never know. So,
you shouldn't pay that much for a handbag. Maybe there's a lesson in here. Maybe God himself is weighing it.
It's a message from the Lord.
Thank you for that.
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Well, this is a Fox News alert. As mentioned, Paul Manafort was found guilty on 8 counts of financial crimes today, mostly tax evasion. Donald Trump's former attorney, meanwhile, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to criminal charges of his own. A lot happened, and we are now joined by Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry to tell us what it was. Hey, Ed.
Tucker, good to see you. The Michael Cohen case could prove to be more damaging to the president legally, politically, because he was directly implicated. A far cry from the Paul Manafort case, which has nothing to do with the president, 2016, or Russia collusion. The former Trump campaign chair found guilty on 5 counts of filing false income tax returns, 1 count failing to file a report of a foreign bank account, 2 charges of bank fraud. The jury could not reach a verdict on 10 other counts. Prosecutors have until the end of the month to decide on a possible retrial. There's also the possibility Manafort, of course, will be pardoned by the president, who declared again this shows special counsel Robert Mueller's probe is a witch hunt. The president said that before that rally. The president said nothing about the potentially more explosive Cohen case, leaving it to his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, to provide this statement, quote, "There's no allegation of any wrongdoing against the president in the government's charges against Mr. Cohen. It is clear that, as the prosecutor noted, Mr. Cohen's actions reflect a pattern of lies and dishonesty over a significant period of time. But Cohen's plea deal alleges he broke the law to influence the 2016 election on behalf of a candidate. Cohen will get prison time of between 43 and 63 months on charges of bank fraud, tax evasion, and the campaign finance charges that have been mentioned, involving payments to 2 women who alleged affairs with the president that he has vehemently denied, Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. Now remember, Giuliani told Fox's Sean Hannity in May no campaign finance law was broken. This plea deal contradicts that statement and raises questions about whether the president or anyone else from the campaign will be implicated, Tucker.
At its core, a confusing story, really. And thanks, Ed, for that. I appreciate it. Alan Dershowitz, of course, a retired Harvard Law School professor, the most famous of them all, and the author of The Case Against Impeaching Trump. He joins us now to help sort this out. Professor, thanks a lot for coming on. So the Manafort story, I think, seems pretty cut and dry. He was convicted of tax evasion. Sounds like he did it. I don't think many people are surprised. Cohen, however, part of this guilty plea surrounds money that he moved, apparently, from Trump's accounts to a woman who alleged sexual contact with Trump. That's a very common scenario among famous people. As you know, we've seen a lot of that in the last year. People paying off women who say they had sexual contact with the affluent person. Is that illegal? How is that a crime?
Well, itself, it's not a crime. And if the president had paid it directly, it wouldn't be a crime. The allegation here is that it was Cohen who paid it and made a campaign contribution, which he didn't report, at the direction of the president. And of course, some stations are already playing the funeral music for President Trump. But this is much more complicated and much more nuanced. First of all, the crime itself is very, very vague. They tried to put Edwards, the former presidential candidate, on trial, and of course, they got an acquittal. But second, it really depends completely on the credibility of Cohen. And remember, as Judge Ellis said, when they squeeze people like Manafort or Cohen, they squeeze them not only to sing, but sometimes to compose. And it's very easy to embellish a story. Let's assume hypothetically it's true that he did pay the money and it was designed to help the impact of the election. That wouldn't involve the president. All he has to do then is say, and the president directed me to do it. That's the kind of embellishment that people put on a story when they want to avoid dying in prison. When the prosecutor says to them, you have two choices. You'll die in prison, or you can give me a story that I can use to go and get the president. I'm not suggesting that happen here. But the risk of that happening is what Judge Ellis talked about in the Manafort case. And we may see that at work here. So we're a long way from, tolling the bells for this administration. It's a bad day. It's a negative day.
It's a bad day, for sure.
Not a fatal one. Yeah.
But I'm still a little bit confused. So if somebody comes to you and says, if somebody says to you, and you're running for office, and the person says, give me money or I will humiliate you in public, and you do give that person money or instruct your lawyer to give that person money, that's a campaign donation?
Not if you make it yourself. But if somebody else pays the money in order to influence the outcome of the election, it is technically, perhaps, a violation of the election laws. That's what they try to get Edwards on. It didn't work. They got an acquittal and hung jury, and they never tried him again. But, again, violation of election laws are regarded as kind of jaywalking in the realm of things about elections, and there are so many of them. Every administration violates the election laws. Every candidate violates the election laws when they run for president. Usually they pay a fine, something like that happens. Here they're trying to elevate this into an impeachable offense or a felony against the president. Look, they may name the president as an unindicted co-conspirator. They did that with Nixon. Even back then, I complained about that, because naming somebody as an unindicted co-conspirator is very unfair, because he has no opportunity to defend himself or herself. And yet that may happen. So this is the beginning of a story that will unravel over time, but it's not nearly as deadly lethal as some have portrayed it as being.
It's certainly confusing as a matter of law. But, Professor, thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
You heard about today with the illegal alien coming in, very sadly, from Mexico, and you saw what happened to that incredible, beautiful young woman. Should have never happened. Illegally in our country. We've had a huge impact, but the laws are so bad. The immigration laws are such a disgrace.
That was the president just moments ago. For the last month, Iowans have searched and prayed for a missing college student called Molly Tibbetts. Today, tragically, her body was discovered. Police say their suspect is an illegal immigrant. He led them to the body in a cornfield, they say. Fox National correspondent Matt Finn is in Iowa for us tonight with details. Matt?
Tucker, Molly Tibbetts' body was found in a cornfield not far from where I'm standing, and police say 24-year-old Christian Rivera has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. Authorities say Rivera has been in this country illegally, and tonight we're working to learn a little bit more about Rivera's background. So far, we have learned that ICE has placed a detainer on Rivera and say that he is here from Mexico. Here's one of the lead investigators giving us a little more details on Christian Rivera.
We have confirmed with Homeland Security investigations that he is an illegal alien, and we believe he has been in this area now for 4 to 7 years.
Investigators say Rivera confessed that on July 18th, the day that Molly Tibbetts went missing, he approached her and followed her while she was out on her jog. She spotted him and said, "Leave me alone, I'm going to call police," and took out her cell phone. Rivera told police he continued to follow her and then blacked out and doesn't remember what happened after that. And he came to in a rural area not far from here. Authorities say this morning Rivera led them to a remote location about 13 miles from Molly's hometown, which is Brooklyn, Iowa. And that is where they found what they believe is the body of Molly Tibbetts. Authorities say it was a surveillance video submitted to them that showed Molly jogging and then Rivera's black Malibu car. That's how they were able to track down Rivera. Police tonight have not revealed the manner of Molly's death. Police say Rivera did see Molly prior to the day that he allegedly murdered her on July 18th. It's not clear how often he saw her, but police are going to also clarify for us in the coming days whether he may have been stalking her. Molly Tibbetts was set to return to the University of Iowa as a sophomore this year. Her father, Rob Tibbetts, was on the ground here for 30 days pleading for information leading to the arrest or conviction of anyone involved in the disappearance of his daughter. He even went to the university, or he even went to the Iowa State Fair to hand out flyers begging for information. And after 30 plus days, he has now learned that his daughter has been found dead. Tucker.
Matt Finn, Forest in Iowa. Thank you, Matt. Well, as with the Kate Steinle case, it looks like a young American might still be alive if the country were simply willing to enforce its own federal laws. Luis Miranda is a former DNC communications director, and he joins us tonight. Luis, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker. It's good to be on.
So the line that the rest of us are kind of forced to accept is that all immigrants are great people, better than us, in fact, and that if we suspect otherwise, we're bad people. If we point to evidence proving otherwise, then we're flat-out bigots and we should be quiet. Why don't Americans have a right to police their own borders and say, if you're not here legally, you have to leave now? Why don't we have that right?
Well, Tucker, I'm really glad that you're giving us the opportunity to have this discussion, because I think Democrats, Republicans, independents, immigrants, and those born here, all alike, we can agree that these heinous crimes have no place regardless of who does them. You know, just this week, we found out that a white man in Denver killed his wife and 2 beautiful young daughters. Also tragic, just as this young woman in Iowa whose death is a huge tragedy, and I can't imagine what her family's going through. So we can agree on that.
Here's the difference. No, I understand.
But there's a white man in Denver who doesn't speak for all white men either.
Hey, Luis, I didn't say anything about this man's race. This story is not about race. Don't make it about race. Stop that. I was saying this is about nationality and citizenship. This man had no right to be here. That's the difference. Lots of Americans commit heinous crimes. It's terrible. We put them in prison where they should be.
Exactly.
But people shouldn't be here in the first place. He didn't have a right to be here in the first place. He should not have been here. His presence violated federal law. You and your party tell us that we're racist for wanting to enforce our own laws. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with whether we think laws are real. And some of us do.
There's more we agree on.
You don't.
There's more we agree on. We both agree that the immigration system is badly broken. It is horribly broken. And the people who stood in the way of fixing that have been oftentimes Republicans. And I'll give you an example of what worries me about this case.
No, you don't. This is just spin. It's really simple. I ask you a question, please answer it. Why don't we as American citizens, you, me, our neighbors, everyone, a citizen, immigrants or not, but who is an American, have a right to say, if you don't have a right to be here, you must leave? When did we lose that right? Why don't we have that right?
And I'll tell you when. When people who own big corporations, companies, who are inviting these people to come work, oftentimes at depressed wages because they need the labor. Look, George W. Bush,
I agree with you completely.
I agree with you completely. Wage laws and brought Mexican immigrants to help with recovery and reconstruction after Katrina.
To his eternal shame, and the unemployment rate among
created to draw them.
No. Oh, no. You're absolutely right, but what you're missing is the African-American unemployment rate in New Orleans remains very high. Those jobs went to foreigners. They didn't help the Americans who need the help in New Orleans. And I can give you 1,000. You're right. I agree. To his eternal shame. It's one of the reasons he has a lot to be ashamed of from his 8 years as president. That's one of the main things to be ashamed of. But I have still a simple question. You and I agree on that. So why don't we say to employers, you must verify the legal status of your employees, and if you can't employ them. And if someone's got a fake ID, that's a felony.
One of the things we tried to do under the Obama administration was to expand E-Verify. No, actually, that was part of the immigration bill that we put forward in 2013. Yes, it was. It was. Absolutely. It was something that we always included.
Because Democrats are totally against it now. Totally. Because they take money from these employers that rely on the cheap labor you just mentioned.
Included it, and it included border security. It included verification. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's always been part of what we tried to do.
But it's not true. Democrats right now ask members of the Senate, the 40-odd Democrats in the Senate, are you for universal E-Verify? If you can't prove that your employees are legally in this country, you can't employ them. Are they for that? You can't get a majority to say that right now, and you know that.
We set off drones
but I'm sorry, it's 2018,
from Texas to California. We added border patrol agents. We agree that we need a safe and orderly border.
It didn't work.
What the disagreement here is how do you use your resources? And the problem that I have right now is that we have immigration agents chasing down moms taking their their kids to school instead of looking for real criminals like the one that you targeted at the beginning of this.
Here was a real criminal, and if we eliminate ICE, as Democrats are calling for, then how do we police our immigration laws? We can't. You really represent a party that would like to eliminate immigration enforcement.
What I think is important is that as long as Trump and other Republicans keep politicizing immigration enforcement, it turns into this kind of debate that takes away from the reality that we need a safe and secure border. We need someone who is actually stopping the flow of illegal guns and drugs north and bulk cash south. We did that during the Obama administration.
I'm sorry. This is disingenuous.
So we're both in agreement in that.
The country's flooded with heroin from Mexico.
In that.
Yeah, okay.
We are both in agreement on that.
That's not,
but when you politicize it and you force law enforcement agents to go chase a mom going to school, taking her kids there, and raiding factories.
I appreciate it. Right, okay.